Imagine a land of poets and deserts, of ancient cities carved from rock and sand. This is Persia, a place whose story is written across millennia. It's a crossroads of empires, a melting pot of cultures. For centuries, this incredible land had been fractured. Ruled by foreign dynasties, its identity splintered like a broken pot. It was a place waiting for a spark, a force powerful enough to gather the scattered pieces and mold them into something new, something unified. That spark was about to be lit, not by a seasoned warlord or a wise old king, but by a boy with fire in his eyes and a belief that could move mountains. This is the story of the Safavids. They didn't just conquer land, they reshaped the very soul of a nation. This wasn't merely a change of flags or a new name on a map. This was a profound transformation, a seismic shift that would send ripples through history, felt even today. The Safavids gave Persia a new identity, one rooted in a specific branch of Islam, in breathtaking art, and in a renewed sense of national pride. Our story begins not in a grand palace, but in hiding. A young boy named Ismail, a descendant of a revered Sufi mystic, was forced to conceal himself from his enemies. His family had led a religious movement, the Safavid, and this made them a threat. After his father and older brother were killed, Ismail was the last hope. He was only a child, but he was surrounded by devoted followers, the Qizilbash, or Redheads. In the year 1500, at the tender age of 14, Ismail emerged from his hiding place in Gilan. It was an audacious gamble. With a small but fanatically loyal army of Qizilbash, he set out to claim his destiny. Within a year, the impossible happened. In 1501, Ismail's forces captured the city of Tabriz. It was a stunning victory. There, in the heart of what would become his new capital, the boy who had been a fugitive was crowned Shah of Persia. He was just 15 years old. He proclaimed that the official religion of his new empire would be Twelver Shia Islam. This was a monumental decision, a turning point that set Persia on a different path from its Sunni neighbors, particularly the mighty Ottoman Empire to the west. Shah Ismail's decision to make Shia Islam the state religion was not just a political move, it was the very cornerstone of the Safavid identity. Before 1501, Persia was a predominantly Sunni land, like most of the Islamic world. Ismail's decree was revolutionary and in many ways brutal. He imported Shia scholars from Arabic-speaking lands like Lebanon and Bahrain to teach the principles of this new state faith. Religious festivals unique to Shia Islam, like the Day of Ashura, which commemorates the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, became major public events. These ceremonies, filled with passion and mourning, helped to weave the new faith into the fabric of daily life. It influenced everything. Art began to feature Shia themes, calligraphy quoted Shia hadiths, and architecture was designed to serve the new rituals. This religious policy had massive geopolitical consequences. It set the Safavids on a permanent collision course with the Ottoman Empire, which saw itself as the leader of the Sunni Muslim world. The Battle of Chaldiran in 1514, where the Ottoman cannons shattered Ismail's Qizilbash cavalry, was a brutal reality check. From then on, the border between the two empires became a religious frontier, a fault line in the Islamic world that has, in many ways, persisted to this day. If Shah Ismail was the fiery founder, Shah Abbas I, who came to the throne in 1588, was the master architect. When he inherited the empire, it was in a sorry state. Abbas's first move was to centralize power. He systematically broke their power, creating a new standing army, loyal only to him. This new force was composed of converted Christian slaves from the Caucasus regions, Georgians, Armenians, and Circassians. With his new modernized army, Abbas went on the offensive. He made peace with the Ottomans, buying himself time to deal with the Uzbeks in the east, whom he decisively defeated. In a series of brilliant campaigns, he recaptured the lands his grandfathers had lost, including the prized city of Baghdad. He even enlisted the help of the English, using their naval power to oust the Portuguese from the strategic island of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf. Abbas wasn't just a conqueror, he was a shrewd diplomat, playing his European and Asian rivals against each other to Persia's advantage. But Abbas's genius wasn't confined to the battlefield. He revitalized the Persian economy by making the roads safe, building caravanserais for merchants and fostering the silk trade. He welcomed foreigners, merchants, artists, and diplomats from Europe and Asia to his court, creating a cosmopolitan atmosphere. Shah Abbas the Great transformed Persia from a beleaguered state into a powerful, stable, and prosperous empire that was the envy of the world. In 1598, Shah Abbas made his most audacious and brilliant move. He moved the capital of his empire from Qazvin to the city of Isfahan, located right in the center of the country. This wasn't just a change of address. It was honestly the beginning of one of the most magnificent urban renewal projects in history. Abbas was determined to build a capital that would dazzle the world, a city that would reflect the power, wealth, and glory of his reborn Persia. He gathered the finest architects, artists, and craftsmen from across the empire and beyond, and gave them a canvas on which to create a masterpiece. The result was a city so beautiful that it spawned a famous Persian proverb, Isfahan Nesfe Jahan. Isfahan is half the world. The heart of Abbas's new Isfahan was the monumental Naqsh-e-Jahan Square, or Image of the World Square. It was, and still is, one of the largest city squares on the planet. It was surrounded on all four sides by monuments of breathtaking beauty, each a testament to Safavid genius. On one side stood the magnificent Shah Mosque, its entrance portal and towering dome covered in a mesmerizing cascade of blue and yellow mosaic tiles that shimmer in the sunlight. This city was a melting pot. Abbas encouraged Armenian Christians, who were master merchants and artisans, to settle in a special quarter called New Julfa. They were granted religious freedom and played a vital role in the city's economic life, especially in the lucrative international silk trade. Isfahan became a cosmopolitan hub where Persians, Armenians, Indians, and Europeans mingled in the bazaars and coffee houses. It was a city of gardens, palaces, libraries, and over 160 mosques. For a time, it was perhaps the most beautiful city on earth, a shining symbol of the Safavid Golden Age. For the ordinary person living in the Safavid Empire, life was a tapestry woven from threads of faith, trade, and tradition. For the farmer in the countryside, the rhythm of life was dictated by the seasons, planting wheat or barley and tending to orchards. In the cities, life was a hive of activity. The bazaar was the center of everything, a noisy, fragrant, and colorful world where you could buy anything from spices from the east to textiles from the city's own workshops. The engine of this prosperity was trade, and the Safavids were masters of it. Their empire sat squarely on the ancient Silk Road, the network of trade routes that connected China to the Mediterranean. Shah Abbas built a network of hundreds of caravanserais, roadside inns that provided safe lodging for merchants and their precious cargo. This security fostered a boom in commerce that filled the royal coffers and enriched the cities. Relations with their neighbors were a constant, delicate balancing act. To the west, the Ottoman Empire was the great rival. They were a military and religious foe, and the border between them was a place of frequent warfare. And then there were the Europeans. The Safavids were keen to forge alliances with European powers like England, France, and the Dutch, primarily to find allies against their common enemy, the Ottomans. These interactions brought new technologies, ideas, and fashions to Persia, creating a dynamic and cosmopolitan society. Great empires are like great trees. They grow tall and strong, but eventually the rot can set in. The decline of the Safavid Empire wasn't a sudden event, but a slow, creeping decay that began after the death of its greatest ruler, Shah Abbas, in 1629. Abbas, in his paranoia, had created a terrible system for succession. The Shahs who followed Abbas were for the most part a pale shadow of their formidable ancestor. Many preferred the secluded comforts of the harem to the demanding business of running an empire. This internal weakness was mirrored by a decline in the empire's economic fortunes. The world was changing. New sea routes to India and the Far East, controlled by European maritime powers, began to bypass the old overland Silk Road. The lucrative transit trade that had filled the Safavid treasury started to dry up. The government, desperate for funds, raised taxes on farmers and merchants, causing widespread discontent and hardship. The vibrant economic engine that had powered the Golden Age was sputtering out. As the central government weakened, the empire's frontiers became vulnerable. But the most serious threat was emerging from a new direction. In the east, in what is now Afghanistan, Ghilzai Afghan tribesmen were growing restless under the misrule of a heavy-handed Safavid governor. The once mighty empire, hollowed out from within, was becoming brittle. It was a golden apple, beautiful on the outside, but rotting at the core, ready to fall at the first strong shake. The final fatal blow came from the east. In 1722, a brilliant but ruthless Afghan chieftain named Mir Mahmud Hotak led his army across the desert towards the heart of the Safavid Empire. What followed was one of the great tragedies in Persian history, the siege of Isfahan. For 6 long months, the magnificent capital was surrounded and starved into submission. Shah Sultan Hussein finally surrendered in October 1722. In a humiliating ceremony, he personally placed the royal diadem on Mir Mahmud's head, ending over 2 centuries of Safavid rule. It was during this dark and chaotic period that a new figure would emerge from the chaos, a man who would briefly restore Persia's military glory, but would ultimately be the one to officially extinguish the Safavid flame, Nader Shah. In 1736, he deposed the last Safavid ruler, a child named Abbas III, and had himself crowned Shah of Persia. This was the official end of the Safavid Empire. Though the Safavid dynasty ended in 1736, its ghost has never left Iran. Its legacy is profound, powerful, and visible everywhere. You can walk through this legacy today. To visit Isfahan is to step back into the golden age of Shah Abbas. Naqsh-e-Jahan Square still stands in all its glory, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that continues to mesmerize visitors. The artistic traditions fostered by the Safavids also endure. The Persian carpet, miniature painting, calligraphy, and ceramics all reached their zenith under Safavid patronage, creating a visual language that is still seen as a classical high point. Ultimately, the Safavids gave Persia a unified national identity for the first time in almost 1,000 years. Though their empire fell, the nation they forged did not. The modern country of Iran is built upon the foundations laid by Shah Ismail, Shah Abbas, and their dynasty. Their story is a powerful reminder that empires may rise and fall, but their echoes can last for an eternity.